guys, so today what I'm going to be doing is mounting some LED strips to the back of this monitor. As you can see, I've already got some LED strips around the side of my desk. But what I want to do is I want to reduce my eye strain when I'm using my computer. This is actually my home office, which is actually my converted garage. And it's quite dark. I've only got one window just over there, and I'm finding that a lot of the time I'm having to use artificial lights, so like my lamp over there, around these desk LED strip lights. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount an LED strip to the back of this monitor. So the LED strips are actually powered by this 12 volt 1 amp AC to DC power converter. And what we do is we use this remote control here to change the LED colours. So what I'm actually going to be doing, we're using one of my daughter's LED strips, which she used to have around the room, up in her bedroom, and we're going to repurpose it on the back of this monitor just to improve like the actual light and reduce my eye strain. After this video is I will be purchasing some UK mains adapter sockets which have Wi-Fi capability, and doing a tutorial on how we can actually program that to turn on all of the lights in my office space here using a REST API. So if you're interested in coding, we can see how we can do that, how we can put a web front end onto it, and then use, say, for our phones, or we can set up a schedule to automatically turn on all of our lights in our office space. Let's get going. So the first step that we need to do is we need to remove the monitor from the wall. So as you could probably see here, I've also got this nice flush mount cable tidy. So I'm just going to remove the cover from this so I can get to my cables behind, and then it will make it easier for me to remove the monitor. I'll also be trailing this power cable through this cable tidy system so that we can hide all of the electronics behind the monitor itself, giving us that clean aesthetic look in our office space. Okay, so I've now got the monitor off the wall. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a quick clean up of the back. It's a bit dusty. Up there now for a good couple of years. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start mounting the LED sockets and then routing the cable. Okay, so these are the LED strips that I'm going to be reusing. As you can see, there's actually two of them, and they both have these 4-pin connectors, as you can see here. These LED strips actually have little cut holes, so you can cut them along the line as shown here. So we're going to be very careful to cut them correctly before we mount them to the back of the monitor. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay them on top of the monitor and get a good idea as to how long we need each of the strips. Next, we're going to have to work out where we're going to place the infrared controller. So essentially, this little thing here, that is where the infrared signal is received by this particular unit. And then we have both of these other two connectors here, which are used to connect the LED strips to this unit. The AC/DC power adapter then plugs into the back here. So what I want to do is I want to be very careful as to where I mount this on the monitor, because there could be some interference from this unit. So I'm going to particularly stay away from this area on the monitor, which is where the switches are, and appears to be a lot of the actual electronic circuitry is in this particular monitor. It's also important to note, if you want to use your remote control to control the lights, you need to make sure that this is easily accessible from your infrared remote. It's always a good idea to carefully plan where you're going to place this unit. Okay guys, so what I've done is I've actually decided to mount the IR controller to the left side of this monitor. The cable will run up the cable channel here onto the back of the monitor, and then the AC power or AC/DC power will go into this socket here. The LEDs will then run from this side across and then connect in to this one, and for the top, this one. So now measure out the LED strips and cut them to length, and then mount them on the top and on the lower portion of the monitor. Okay, and like I mentioned before, we have to make sure that we cut the LED strips in exactly the right place. So as we're looking down at the monitor, we must cut along this cut mark here. There's normally a symbol showing a pair of scissors. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to carefully cut along that line, and there we go. So next what we need to do is need to center this LED strip. That looks good to me, so I'm going to place that there, and I'm going to apply some downwards pressure just to affix that to the back of the monitor. Okay, so now that's done, we're now going to connect the power to the LED strip, like so. And we're now going to repeat the same process for the bottom strip that will run along this part of the monitor here. So again, just going to take the strip and I'm going to measure it out so that it matches the same as the top strip lengthwise. I'm going to get my pair of scissors and I'm just going to chop along that same line. Okay, so the rest of the LED strips, like I said, I've reused them, so they're a bit tatty, and you know, there's some hair and stuff from where the backing is still sticky. But now we've actually cut those LED strips off, and we've got the two on our monitor. These can simply be discarded and thrown away. This second LED strip that I just measured out, and I'm going to attach it securely to the bottom of the monitor here, and then connect it to the second power connector. And I'm just going to basically line them up so the effect on the wall should be roughly the same once we power on the LEDs. And again, just going to use some downward pressure just to apply those LEDs to the bottom of the monitor. Okay, so once that's done, guys, what we can do is we can now attach the power to this second strip. Now attach the LEDs to the back of the monitor. Demonstrate now how I've exposed the IR receiver. So as you can see here, I've made it so it just sticks out over the side of the monitor here. So what I'm going to do is just use a bit of tape just to secure this in place, and I'm also going to just tape these back as well. Just going to make sure they're securely stuck down, and again I'm just going to repeat it for the second connector here. And then just for good measure, I'm just going to apply a piece of tape just over these three cables that come out the back of the IR controller. Okay, so that's everything stuck in place and securely fastened. So the back of the monitor now essentially looks like so. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to run the power cable up, which will come up this channel here. So it's all hidden, and I'm just going to make sure that I probably place it right on this side here, just away from this power and display cable here, just so there's no interference. So quick tip, if you ever need to pass a cable up underneath the desk or something, I always find it better to quickly put a quick loop in it. It just means that more edges can actually make contact with the top of your desk, and therefore it's less likely to just drop back down. So anyway, now I'm just going to undo the loop, route the cable up, attach it inside these prongs here. Again, like I said, I'm going to keep it away from the main monitor and power cable there. And make sure that we've got an adequate length so that we can attach to the monitor before we put the monitor back onto the wall. So now that we have the cable in the cable tidy, we can now attach the power into the back of the IR controller unit. Now it's attached. Again, just a little bit of tape here, just to keep it nicely tucked away and attach to the back of the monitor. Right, okay guys, so now that's done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the monitor back onto the wall and we'll test it out. So let's plug in the LED strips and let's test it out and see how it looks. Okay, so from the side angle, as you can see, we've got the little infrared receiver just poking out of the side of the monitor there. So if we now test it out, so I've got the remote here. Now going to point it at the monitor, and we go. That looks pretty good, I think. And then, as you would expect, you can of course change the colour of the back of the monitor. Blue, green, yellow, red. I like it on white personally, so I'm going to put it back to that, so that matches the rest of my setup. Turn on the computer, bring it back from sleep. That's how it now looks, which, you know, the idea of adding the lighting to the back of the monitor should reduce your eye strain, and I think it looks really cool. So this is obviously set up in a day. In some of my future videos, you'll obviously see this monitor backlight. Anyway guys, I hope you found this video useful. Like I said earlier on, what I'm going to be doing is I'm actually going to be purchasing some mains power switches which we can control over Wi-Fi. I'll be writing an app so that we can turn on all of these lights automatically, set up schedules and other such things. Obviously it's a bit of a pain having to turn on each of the individual lights every time I come into my office. So now I've got a lamp over there, this one, the 2 desk lamps, and the main light. So essentially every time I come in here, I'm actually turning on 4 different lights. So we'll address that issue and automate that with one of these little Wi-Fi power sockets. So we can just literally come in, use our mobile phone, an app that we build, and we'll be able to turn them all on instantly and automatically turn them off at night at a certain time, for example. Anyway guys, I hope you liked the video. Like I say, if you did, give it a like, subscribe, leave any comments below if you've got any questions specifically about this setup, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks a lot guys, cheers!